the problem with side hustles and top tips for earning money on the side. Well, today on the show, we're talking all things side hustle. We're talking about generating extra money out of your 9 to 5 and different ways you can do it, how to start it, some of our ideas. And I am joined by Kayla Malss, who is the co-host or one of the hosts of the This Is Business podcast. Welcome back to Newcastle, Kayla.
Hello, it's good to be back.
Yeah. So any, I guess for you and your vibe, what do you, like when I say side hustles, like what comes to your mind first?
Yeah, I think of after hour, after school, making money.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I was thinking, as we were kind of lightly preparing for this episode, I was thinking about the side hustles I've had back in my day, in my time. And it was either selling stuff on the side after school or providing a service outside of my work hours to earn a bit of extra money.
Yeah, cool. And I think and we'll go to it right now. The problem with side hustles, and as I said in the title, I really think the problem is people think to do the side hustle, I have to have my own business, I have to have the empire, I have to, have 100 or it was a 6-figure incomes and all this rubbish. I think it's PR problem for side hustles.
I was going to say, yeah, like you log on to TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and everyone's shoving this story down your throat. Like, you need to have a business. This is the era of owning a business and entrepreneurship, and it's exhausting.
Yeah. So I think that is the problem with side hustles. And we're going to get into it today, how to do it correctly, how to set it up if you are starting from scratch, some little maintenance things along the way, potential exit ramps. Mm-hmm. And this episode is brought to you by Sphere Home Loans. If you are after a mortgage, you got to chat with Sphere Home Loans. They may say to you, hey, you're going really good here and you can get a loan. However, if you wanted to borrow that extra little bit of money, you need more income. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, look, if you can increase your income an extra 10 grand a year or something, even until you get the loan sorted, so you can, again, this is the danger. Side hustle, people think, I don't want to start a business. It could be, can you pack shelves for 3 months? Get that extra income on paper, then we can get into your loan and then basically do what you want. So that's why it's really important when you do have a mortgage or you want to get a mortgage for a first home or investment property to reach out to Sphere Home Loans. They help so many of our listeners all over Australia. So,
you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
I actually had that conversation with Genevieve from Sphere.
Really?
Yeah. So
wait. This is all coming back.
Yeah.
All right. For those new to this world, this podcast world, you're a client of Sphere Home Loans.
I am, yeah.
And you heard about them on the podcast.
I did, yeah.
A million years ago.
Yes. I've owned my property now for 5 years, something around 5 years. And I went through Sphere.
Yeah.
And my partner also bought an apartment. His mortgage is through Sphere, worked with them.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to determine our next steps. So we got back in touch with Genevieve from Sphere, had a meeting being like, okay, we've done all this hard work. We have these 2 properties. What's our kind of next steps?
You're broke. Earn more money.
Yeah, no, literally. It was that conversation of like, well, you have these 2 mortgages. If you do want to purchase a forever home, don't forget you still got these 2 mortgages. They're not going anywhere. So we put together a few scenarios and we've decided to go to Europe.
All right.
But that was part of the discussion as well. She was like, well, what are your plans?
Yeah.
What's your long-term goal and strategy and all of that. So,
awesome.
Love Sphere.
Well, there you go. Kayla, and I originally met Kayla. She was a listener of the podcast and we connected on Instagram and marketing stuff, and you're now part of the framework wall.
Yeah.
What are they?
Part of the furniture.
Furniture, that's what they say. So anyway, Sphere Home Loans, thank you so much for supporting the podcast and for helping people like Kayla and her partner to get into their home sooner. My name is Glen James, joined by Kayla Malss, and this is Money, Money, Money. Before we get into it, this show is general advice only, and I've got a license to provide that advice. Full details can be found in the show notes. I'm a former financial advisor. Now I do the Money, Money, Money podcast. If you're a regular here, we call it M3, and we do a podcast called Retire Right. I've got a book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, is available wherever good books are sold. There's a link in the show notes if you want to turn up your investing to 11, or if you're just getting started. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here today. All right into the meat. I think there are 4 reasons that you should start a side hustle. And again, when we say side hustle, forming an extra piece of income for a period of time or more. The first reason is it is to attack a short-term goal. So it could be we need to save as much money to have more cash or servicing to get to our mortgage. That's the first reason. You are very strategic because when things get tough and things get annoying, you know that this isn't forever. This is just for 6 months or a year to achieve one of our financial goals.
Totally agree.
Now, the second reason is to attack short-term debt, which I have split this up for a reason because, sure, paying down debt is a goal, but I just really wanted to illustrate that when we are getting extra side hustle income to plug into our life, it could be for stuff that isn't enjoyable, like paying down debt.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's within that goal. So it could be I want to clean up my personal loan, my credit card, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's one of the other reasons. Now we're starting to get into this kind of stuff on the side, which is I want to work for myself one day and I want to build that business and do it on the side. Literally side hustle. I want to hustle on the side to, in this instance, one day start my own business. And the fourth reason, it is I'm genuinely happy to just monetize a hobby, or I want to do this. I like doing it.
I love that. You want to.
Yeah, and
it's as simple as that.
well, we have to make it clear. And one of the, I guess, reasons that it's not on this list, and it kind of goes to what I think is the biggest risk of side hustles, is, so the fifth reason isn't we need more money to live, because if you're strapped for cash week on week and you're like, I'm going to get a side hustle because I can't afford to pay the power bill, I can't afford to pay the subscriptions and all that stuff, I can't afford rent, that's not a reason to do the side hustle at all, I don't think, because you'll get trapped.
Yeah, there's a behaviour issue that needs to be fixed, not just throwing money at a problem.
That's right. And sure, it could be like, far out, I've just been made half redundant and, you know, I need extra money to live. Like, yeah, sure, you might go and get a second job, but it's a different framework and mindset. So my challenge to everyone thinking about a second job or getting a side hustle, whatever you want to call it, starting business on the side is probably the term that if you want to start a business, and the rest is side hustle.
Yeah.
You got to be very strategic, and we can talk about this in like the setup of it, that we do not eat the money that we earn on the side.
Yeah, because then it begs the question, the time that you're spending on this side hustle, could you be investing that time into your current job to be upskilling or getting a promotion to then earn more money, and then you don't need the side hustle, right? It's what's the goal here?
So that's what I think is the biggest risk, is you kind of think you need more money. Oh, awesome, I'm doing this overtime, or I'm packing shelves. It's awesome, I'm earning an extra $200 a week. You'll embed that into your budget and into your life, and it's going to be very hard to stop that.
And then you need a third job, a third side hustle.
And at some point you run out of jobs and time.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of what I'm thinking are the biggest risks and the reason that that you should do a side hustle. Now, I told Kayla, because she's just flown in from Newcastle and we haven't prepped much of this, and after we record this for the main show, we will be recording some episodes for the This Is Business show, which is also on YouTube and on podcast. And I basically said to Kayla, look, jump in. I've prepped all this and be a passenger. So
I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, if she's not talking much, it's not because I'm overbearing and not letting the guests speak, which I usually do if you look at the reviews and the comments, and I look at everything.
Oh, really?
It's hard. So sometimes if you get a guest, right?
Yeah.
Within 10 seconds of pressing record, you know that this is going to be tough.
Yeah.
And they're not used to it. They're not playing tennis. They're not it's just hard. And it does sound like, let the guest speak. It's like, I'm trying, but in the room, they're really nervous or...
Yeah, it's not like there's background music. It's like if no one's talking, it is literally dead silent in here.
But as well, sometimes I do stuff up and go too hard and don't let the guests speak. So I
don't go to war in the comments on this one.
Well, they can. It's good for the algo, all that.
Engagement.
But so look, before I kind of, I want to look at this next thing of, hobby or business. Did you have any other comments on any of that kind of preamble?
I think when it comes to having a side hustle, for me, I used to have a photography and copywriting business, and I went down that path of just starting something without really having a strategy or a goal. And it kind of got to the point where I was at a bit of a crossroads where I didn't have a lot of money coming in, but the business had legs. I had leads coming in and I could have made it full-time if I wanted to.
Yeah, right.
And I kind of had to ask myself, what do I actually want from this? And I did. This was before you had announced the 4 reasons to do a side hustle. But
was one of your reasons to earn more money to spend on my Netflix subscription?
Yeah, well, it was. I was actually looking for another job.
Right.
I was using it as a portfolio, and then people started paying me to take photos, and I thought, maybe I don't even need a portfolio. I could have this business. But then, long story short, I ended up choosing to save up for a goal, which was my house deposit that I ended up taking over to Sphere Home Loans, another shout out. But yeah, I think those 4 rules really are golden, because if I didn't stop and think about what I actually wanted for this, I'd monetize my hobby and it was fun and I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I would have enjoyed it going full time and taking on the risk of it being a full-time business. It was kind of this fun and fluffy thing when it was a side hustle, which made it more fun. So having that goal to save up for the house deposit and then finish up actually really improved the work I was doing and made it more fun for me to actually have a side hustle.
Yeah, and that's why I just really want to drive home today that if people are going after something as a goal, whether it is the pleasure goal of saving for that holiday or the paying goal of removing debt and crap that we've already spent, and I'm doing this for no benefit, just cleaning up the mess that I've left behind. I don't know where I was going with that. I think I was saying you can fall into stuff. No, I wasn't saying that. I did write that down.
You can fall into stuff though.
Yeah.
That is true.
I think it's that whole, that's right. Don't think that, I don't want to save up and get the holiday account. I don't want to save up and get the home deposit. I don't want to pay down my debt and all this because it's too hard. Side hustles ain't for me.
Yeah.
Okay, remove that word completely from your vibe.
Yeah.
It's go get a second job and earn more money as overtime.
Yeah. So you're saying side hustles don't have to be a business.
No,
a side hustle could be
and that was the
you
kind
do Uber
of
on the
in
weekends
the open thing. It's the biggest problem is the PR problem with side hustles.
Side hustles need a
It's
rebrand.
AKA it's second job or overtime.
Yeah, any side hustle, any income.
Yeah,
could be
extra income. Now, the good thing is about if you go down the road or the route of I pack shelves at night, I pour beers on school nights, I do all this extra income stuff.
Yeah.
The admin side is so good.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to set up ABNs, you don't have to do all that, you don't have to be a contractor.
Yeah.
You're literally a casual staff member. Mm-hmm. There is some potential downsides on the tax front, which we'll get to, and it's not a downside, quote unquote. It's just it's just a thing, and I will get to that. But what I want to probably just carve out first is, and we see it all the time in the Facebook groups, people are like, well, how do I know it's a hobby and should I pay tax on this money? And it just goes back to, I think, your intent. Now, if you are, and I wrote down before, I like making leather wallets, and I do I go to the markets once a month, make some leather wallets. Sometimes I'll book a market stall, sometimes I don't. I like doing it. It's probably more a hobby.
Yeah.
But if you're like, no, I want to legitimately have this as some type of foundation to maybe grow and build into a business one day, well, you've got to start with the mindset of business, because I think at the start, if you're like, I'm going to do this thing on the side and I'm going to just treat it like a hobby so I don't have to pay a little bit of tax, you're not going to be really strategic anyway. Like, you won't do as well because you don't want to do too much in case I have to pay tax.
Yeah.
But if you're like, no, this is literally, I want it to be a side business and maybe one time grow and take over my full-time work, well, let's set up the structure. Let's really get into it. On the ATO website, they say it's important to determine whether I don't know, that's an error whether the trust is carrying on a business as distinct from pursuing a hobby, sport or recreational activity that does not produce assessable income. I think there's an error on the ATO website.
Are they just describing what a hobby is?
Well, yeah. So basically,
pursuing a hobby, sport, or recreational.
The factors or business indicators various courts and tribunals have taken into account if determining a business exists for tax purposes include whether the activity has actually started, if it's a significant commercial purchase or character, is undertaken with a purpose of profit as well as prospect of profits, is carried out in a manner that is characteristic of the industry, has repetition, regularity or continuity. So that's the whole thing with I'm making some leather wallets. If you're like, yeah, every Saturday I'm at the foreshore selling leather wallets, probably go out on a limb. That's a business.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I'll find old ones at op shops and I don't know, every 3 months.
If the right wallet comes along,
I'll set up a stand. It's actually pretty, if in doubt, this is where you got to get to, and this is my point of this. And actually, I'll just keep reading this first. It's a sufficient size, scale, and permanency to generate a profit. It is not more properly described as a hobby, recreational, sporting activity.
Gosh, it's a bit vague, isn't it? The definitions.
Is, but I think what I want to call out is, in this episode, I'm not talking about hobbies. And if you want to monetize, and in the second half of this episode, when we look at some of the things that people have written in the Facebook group, there's a really good example of what a hobby is. So, yeah, I think going on here, if we're talking about starting business on the side, anything that we talk about will not be based on how do we pay less tax and try and make this as it's a hobby. Because I want you to earn income, albeit paying tax, because at the end of the day, if you got given $1,000, Kayla, and paid 40% tax, the leftover would be $600. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's financially better off
than having
selling one thing for $200 and trying to obfuscate and get around paying a little bit of tax.
Yeah. I think a good distinction between the hobby and business thing is with the leather wallets, as you said, like if the right wallet comes along, you might fix it up or something.
Yeah.
You're kind of jumping at opportunities to make a bit of extra cash versus a business as you are creating opportunities.
Yeah.
You're chasing clients or customers, or you're baking muffins at the market, you're creating opportunities to make money. Whereas, again, a little bit later on when we see stuff from the Facebook group, some people have just optimized, like they'll have these little opportunities that come along and they might sell something for more than they bought it or here and there.
Yeah, and I think that's good as well, because just as you're saying that, one of the dudes that when I did that Coxon's TAFE course a few years ago, he was his day job was like a truck driver. Like that was I think he was a truck driver, whatever it was, or courier or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's really into fishing, and he knew people on the Newcastle fishing scene, and it's one of those people who just knows everyone, right?
Yeah.
And he fixes fishing rods, reels.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't advertise that he does it, but if someone's like, oh, my reel needs servicing or fixing, they'll take it to Phil
Yeah.
and probably just give him a couple $100.
Yeah.
Like, that's
hobby
more of a
versus
hobby.
a business is
Yeah.
he's like on Facebook sharing about the reels he's fixed and
That's right,
like,
yeah.
inquire on my website, like
Yeah.
chasing opportunities
Yeah.
versus just taking them up.
So, like, if in doubt, default that you're starting a business and not a hobby, I think. So when we look at how to start, now, what would you say if someone wanted to start and will carve out getting a second job at Coles or whatever, or Bunnings or Overtime, we'll carve that out? Because for people that want to make more money doing a second job, just go and find one tomorrow and start earning more money to get your goals sooner. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
But if people have a genuine talent, craft, or trade where they want to do something on the side to turn it into a business, or even for a couple of years until we get to our goal, we need to look at how to start. So part of that will need to be an ABN. But talk to us, and there's going to be an episode that will go up on This Is Business, and it's a real-life case study. You know her. She's, I think, in allied health in Melbourne, wants to start her own business. You know, we're going to answer the questions that she has, but broadly speaking, let's pick something. What's a good example that we could pick for starting a business on the side that we will need to declare income for?
We could use my example when I was...
Photography?
Yeah, so I was working as a marketing coordinator.
Yep.
And I was doing product photography on
Okay.
weekends.
So the first thing we do, obviously, nail your thing. Work out what you want to do.
Yep.
Also, are you good at it?
Yeah.
Because if you suck at something, maybe don't put all your energy into doing that.
Well, I didn't think about actually starting an ABN or anything like that until I had a couple of people ask me for photos. So I thought, oh, okay, there's actually there's a demand for what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, the second thing would be kind of put the word out there.
Yep.
And that could be through your friend networks, family networks, and then maybe in tandem, it is setting up socials.
Yep.
So in this day and age, what would you say if someone wanted to do their day job? I'll use Ryan actually upstairs in my team. He's like, I want to do photography on the side, like Kayla. He knows how to shoot, does all that.
Yep.
What would someone like him do in terms of an online presence first?
I would set up your Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Right.
That would, and it depends on the type of photography.
Yeah.
I should probably mention that.
Yeah.
I was doing product photography,
Yeah.
so that's where my target markets were. I was using Facebook for Facebook groups.
Yes.
Instagram, obviously, photography, Instagram. Back in the day, TikTok didn't exist, but
Yeah.
if I was doing it again, I would start a TikTok. But say you're doing headshots or event photography.
Could be LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
Okay.
exactly. So I think it depends.
So you have to match your world where that's 101, where your future clients are hanging out. Yep. And it was funny, Rach Kroon from Sphere Home Loans, and who I'm writing this next book with, we're working on the book a couple of weeks ago, and her son was like year 7, 8, 9 or whatever, like said, texted, why aren't you on TikTok? And I'm like, tell him to call me. I'll tell him why This Is Property isn't on TikTok. You know, we want to go after people who, you know, most 45, 50-year-old people potentially who we want to serve, you know, a bit of equity and all that stuff, investment properties, on balance aren't on TikTok.
This is for the book?
Well, just for like the This Is Property.
Oh, This Is Property,
Like,
okay.
like why isn't? Because
Yeah.
then you got to look at bandwidth. It's like
Yeah.
we want to hang our hat on YouTube
Yeah.
and probably Instagram.
Yeah. First homeowners, though, would be huge on TikTok.
Exactly.
So again, it's like what target market are you chasing?
But I was talking specifically for the current thing. So I think that's good to know. So then I think we want to talk about when we register an ABN, it will be a sole trader. So a sole trader, effectively, if you've got an ABN, and if you are watching this on YouTube, this year we're really trying to put more effort in.
And improve our handwriting.
Yeah, I'll try. So if you've got your main job there, and then you've got your side income there with an ABN, basically what happens is when you get paid, and I'll just put this box as a TFN, your main income falls onto your tax return, and then we pay tax and then our net income, right? When you've got an ABN under a sole trader, you could that same income falls under the same tax file number, ABN. It's the same entity. Tax is withheld, and then you spend the money. So it all falls on your own tax return. However, in the background, you can set up a separate bank account.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. So we want to find out where potential people that we serve are hanging out, and that will be in your natural vibe. We're going to organise an ABN, and I'll just quickly go there now. What I would recommend to people is to go to the Australian Government Australian Business Register website, because if you Google set up an ABN, right, there'll be like 5 options that are different companies that will charge you and gift wrap it for you, and in the back end plug it into the ATO's or the Australian Business Register. So I always encourage people to go direct to the Australian Business Register website, and then you can click apply for an ABN and do it there. You'll have to put in your tax file number, some details of the industry, and just prove that you are entitled to that ABN, because they don't just give them out. And if you haven't used it for a while, it will lapse over time.
Yeah.
So to be entitled to an ABN, you have to be carrying on or starting an enterprise in Australia, making supplies connected with Australia's indirect tax zone. Basically, far out, talk to me. That's bringing triggered legal stuff for me. Basically, in Australia, the indirect tax zone is basically anywhere in Australia that I think is like 60 kilometres outside the border of Australia. Within that 60 kilometres or whatever that is, that's where you charge GST. And the legal triggering that I had based on this was when I was getting paid income from the Spotify deal. And overseas income, because it was outside. Anyway, all that stuff. But all I'm saying on that, when you apply for an ABN, you'll be asked questions to help the ATO determine whether you are carrying on a business. So it's actually quite easy to get an ABN.
Yeah, this, again, they've made it seem really difficult, and they've used some big words, but it's quite easy to set up.
Yes. So now back to, before I went on that tangent, I was going to ask you about names. Mm-hmm. And the reason I went on this tangent with the ABN is because you're a sole trader, you could, or Ryan or Kayla, could go take photos, give them an invoice, and that document says at the top, Kayla Malss, Ryan, and your address.
Yeah.
And you put the ABN there. Mm-hmm. Or you could register a business name as part of the ABN, which could be Kayla's Photography.
Yeah, that's what I did.
It would be Kayla Malss trading as Kayla's Photography.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need a business name. So you can register a business name, but effectively when you create an ABN, it will be by default as a sole trader linked to your own personal name and tax file number.
Yep, that makes sense.
So having said that, what checks and balances would you do if someone wanted to do this, particularly if it was more as a short-term smash and grab? You might not worry about doing a name. You might just do all your LinkedIn, Instagram in your own account, right?
Yeah.
But if you're like, no, I want to build a business on the side, well, then we need to think about the names and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think something to consider is your current personal network. If I had a heap of friends with small businesses that might need photos, maybe it is worth me posting on my accounts to generate some inquiries coming through there rather than starting a whole new fresh account. Back in the day when I had my side hustle, I personally just wanted to keep it separate. So that's what I did. I don't think there's a right or wrong. Probably just depends on, again, your goals for the side hustle, how long you want to have it, and if you want it to grow beyond you. And some people just might like having their own Instagram account, so they just might want to keep their personal life and professional life separate.
So it's really actually easy to get started. What I want to talk about is, and then I will say, and this probably does speak now to more of the tax and bank accounts, I would always recommend you set up a separate account for your ABN income. I was going to say, and you might even want to for your general side hustle income. So it's like if I'm working at Coles, all my money I'm earning going straight into this bank account. A little separate pot. Because we don't want the money going to our own general revenue.
I agree.
So what I would say first and foremost, if you had your normal bank account system set up, and they could be offset accounts or just different savings account, set up another one. I want you to set up another 2 accounts. Why do you reckon 2?
You're going to test me?
Yeah.
One for spendings, one for savings, like a tax saving, putting...
One for income and
I shouldn't call it spendings, but
And one to, reserve money for tax.
Kind of the ingoings and outgoings and having a savings account for tax.
Now, if we have a look at, and everyone can just do this at home, ATO tax rates, 2026. You will note that if you are earning, say, $45,000 to $135,000 at the moment in your job, you're effectively taxed at 30%. And this is where it can start to bite, and this is where working with a second job can bite hard in the first instance as well. So what I want you to do with your 2 bank accounts for your side hustle, and you're kind of right when you said spending.
That's how I set up. I just have a spendings and a savings.
Really? Yeah. So how I would do it, you can do it however you want as long as you've got a detailed system. And the fact that you've got a detailed system for your venture means it's not a hobby, FYI. That first transactional account, and because it's an ABN linked to your personal name, the best thing to do when you set up a different bank account with your current bank or a new bank, don't worry about looking at business accounts and all that because it's it's a sole trade. It's your personal account. We don't have a company here or anything like that. So
that was something that I spent so much time on because it was quite confusing, difference between personal and business and all the different features you can get from business accounts. And I had, at the time, no idea what I was doing. I think I still ended up opening a business account, but it didn't have any functions on it. It was
So you mean an actual business account at the bank where it's a designated, you have to give them your ABN and all that. The reason I say don't do that is because it's just sometimes the fees on the account are higher for businesses, and because it's your own ABN, there's probably fine print everywhere that say you have to do that, but we're just getting started. We can change it later.
Exactly, yeah.
And then that account, what I want you to do, all income goes into that account and all expenses relating to your side venture goes out of that account. So you've got a little mini cash hub just for that. Then what I want you to do, every time you are paid, you must transfer 30% as a good starting point, even 25 if you want to get really risque to potentially offset some expenses into a separate savings account for tax.
Yeah.
Because remember when I a couple of slides ago, it's going to be your income from work, your side income. So what generally happens will be your work income less tax, your side income less tax, but in the background would probably be side income offsets from like you bought something for the side business. Less tax equals the wash up at the end of the year. Now the problem is during the year, you don't notice it. It's when you do your tax return. They're going to say, well, you earned $135K from your work. You earned $50K from your salary.
Or your side hustle.
Your side hustle, rather, or your second job. When it all washes up, we're taxing you because it's only your ABN, $185K. Now, they're going to say, well, based on your income and your side income, you have not withheld enough tax, aka we're sending you a bill. Then what will happen after you do your first tax return, after the first quarter after you do that, if you have generated an income and paid tax through your ABN, they will send you a quarterly PAYG withholding, I forget the actual terminology now, but effectively personal installments. An installment. So every
they
quarter.
Work out based on the first year. They forecast.
Yeah, so if you
need.
paid $12,000 of tax based on your side hustle, after the first year of your side hustle and ABN income, once it's triggered the system, they will then say, we want you to, based on last year, you paid $12,000 tax. Going forward, and they've got a formula, they'll say you have to pay installments of $3,100 because they do a little forecast that you're hopefully earning money.
So using this example of 135K, 50K, say photographer, 50K revenue came through the side hustle, but you spent 20K on a new camera, on your Adobe subscription, on all these expenses to help the side hustle run. Are you still taxed on the 50K?
No, they're basically how it kind of works is that 135 plus 50 revenue is 185 in total. Then what they do, they'll offset. So if for our main work, I went on a course and I paid $1,000, they would take that off. For my side hustle, I had $500 of subscriptions, $500 of travel. There's $2,000 in total across my job and my side hustle expenses. The taxable income is now $183.
Quick math.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing here? Now, the reason I didn't include a $5,000 camera there is you need to speak to your accountant because capital expenses can't ordinarily, and this is where I want to stop there and not go into the detail. As a general accounting term, capital expenses are usually depreciated. There could be some small business instant asset write-off that you can use at the time in your financial year. But you just need to know ordinarily there's two things happening. You buy stuff for the business, it might be instant asset write-off or it could be depreciated over the years. But that's all you need to know. And that's why we say if you earned $1,000 this month into your little account, and you need to do this from probably day one, any income that comes in, just take 30% off as a starting point, and you need to put $300 in a separate tax account. Out of sight, out of mind.
And this is where I feel people are going to go,
Yeah, and if it's all too hard, and this is
Yeah.
and this is why it goes back to the 4 reasons. If this is all too hard, and we just want to attack a goal, go get a second job.
Yeah.
Go
Because
do
you don't
overtime.
have to do the admin. You don't have to do all of. Yeah.
This is more if you are doing something because you want to eventually transition to do it full time, or if you want to do it just because you like doing it.
Yeah. And
it's just part of the thing. And that's why we keep it really simple. I will say as well, I touched on it before. I talked about the issue when you're getting your second job. So remember when you go and apply you fill out the tax file number declaration form online with your new employer. They will say, do you want to claim the tax-free threshold? You can only claim that once. So at your current job, the first $18,200 is tax-free. So when we get our second job, you go, no, I don't want to claim the tax-free threshold.
But you need to put money aside?
Well, no, it just means that your second job is likely withholding more tax than you actually need to pay. So at the end of the year, you won't get a tax bill. Yeah. If you are in your ordinary course of work are earning $100K a year, the first $18K, $200 is tax-free. Fine.
Yep.
If we go and get a side hustle, and just to make it really straightforward, and that $100K, the tax rate is 30 plus 2% Medicare levy, 32%, okay? When you go get the second job, and just for simplicity, if you were getting paid $100K from your second job, the employer will be withholding more tax because the first employer is saying, well, we don't need to withhold any tax on the first $18,000 because that's tax-free anyway.
Yep.
So what happens is you're basically taxed at the highest tax rate for your second job.
Yep.
Overtime just stacks on top, but the second job, you will be paid, you'll be withheld the highest tax rate.
Yeah. So this whole thing of, I remember, and again, this could be like outdated. People would say like, oh, your second income gets taxed at 50% or something. That's actually withholding tax.
It's not
You're
tax.
not paying extra. It's just
They're just withholding it.
Yes.
So if we then draw this again, so the second, basically if there was $100K of your main job and $100,000 from your side hustle.
Are you saying side hustle or second job?
Second job, rather.
Yep.
Yes. And I'm just going to open tax. I'm just going to do just to really show you a tax calc. So ordinarily, if there was $100K withheld, $100K income, just going up through the normal income scales, there would be $22,788 withheld, right? Mm-hmm. If you had the $100K from the second job, they have to withhold the highest tax rate.
Yep.
So tax gets paid.
Yeah.
That's the government's priority. So if we did 100,000, and this is basic maths, times 47%, guess what? $47,000 is withheld. So that's 47. So remember, whether it is, and there could be an ABN on the side as well, but we'll ignore that. At the end of the day, because it's your own tax file number, the total income has been $200K. So then at the wash up, we'll do $200K of income. The total tax based on $200K, we'll just round it to $60,000. Now, what's 47 plus 22,788 is 69. You've in the background, the ATO has withheld 69 or just under 70, for example. There will be probably 10 grand refund to you at the end of the financial year.
That makes sense.
So you've got to look at it when it's a second job or a side hustle with an ABN as a sole trader. It all goes on your own tax return.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, the ATO, they just go, Kayla, what income has come into your life?
Yeah.
They don't care if it's been from you work full-time at Coles, then you do second income pouring beer at night and have an ABN. They don't care. They just go, what's all of the money that this ABN has earned? Less tax. And generally speaking, with the less tax thing, throughout the year, they've got their mitts on that tax so you don't spend it through your employer. Then eventually they will get installments from your ABN.
Yep.
Total income across ABN, less tax equals money.
Yes.
Now, the less tax part, you might get caught out if you haven't put it aside in the first year.
Yep.
And then into the next quarters if you are doing an ABN.
Yep. So the argument that, you get taxed higher for getting a second job.
You don't get taxed higher.
Yeah.
It's withheld.
Am I like weird to think that? Is that
No.
People
A lot
do
of people
say that,
think,
hey?
I don't want to get an extra job because I get taxed more. No, you get same tax the same.
Yeah.
It's just there's a higher amount of tax withheld
Yeah.
until you do your tax return.
Yes.
Then it will be refunded.
Yeah.
Now, an advanced kind of 2.0 thing would be if you did have the 100K job 1 and then 100K job 2, you can actually do a withholding variation form. So if it was a thing that was ongoing and permanent, chat with your accountant. They can tell the ATO effectively to do a ruling or do the numbers. Then you tell your employer, don't withhold this amount, withhold that amount.
Because you can prove
Yeah.
or estimate.
Yeah, that's right. So you don't get taxed more from a second income. You get withheld more throughout the year.
Yep.
So that swings back to the pill of swallowing getting a second job. There'll be a less net benefit pay on pay.
The week on week.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But then when the wash-up's done, it all washes up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, we'll be back right after this.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au. And they'll point you in the right direction.
Okay, we are back. Now, just in finishing, I wanted to maybe just have a look at some of the comments in the Facebook group. So, can you see them there clearly? Yeah. A couple of things here. Warren said, I sell eggs to people in the neighbourhood. It's not a get-rich scheme, but covers the feed of the chickens, so our eggs are free. I would say that's probably a hobby.
Perfect example of a hobby.
Because, if they get rid of the chickens or the chickens aren't laying eggs or, it's pretty much just, we got some eggs here if you want to buy them.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah, it's not going to be significant income. Just anything there that jumps out at you?
I'm a wedding DJ, have been doing it for 15 years, no plans to stop. I'm hoping to stop my day job first, to be honest.
Yeah.
That sounds counterintuitive if you have no plans to stop being a DJ.
No.
Okay, I'm hoping to stop my day job first.
Yeah, but that's an interesting thing because if you are a wedding DJ, most of the time there's only weddings usually on weekends or maybe the odd
It's seasonal.
season.
As well.
And it's season, yes. To replace, the more money you earn in your day job, something's going to be harder to replace. Not impossible.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, maybe if you do want to quit your day job, consider being a DJ. Maybe not just a wedding DJ.
Yes, 100%. Julia, I started being a commercial cleaner last year. I'm a mum of 3 little kids, so it was good to find a job after school. Husband is a teacher. And I used it and the equity from our house to buy an investment property and also joined a gym. No plans to stop. Okay, so this is good because they had a thing such as we want to buy an investment property. We needed a higher income for that. This is where one of the traps can walk in the door. I would still say to Julia, your second job income, you need to be putting that towards, even if it just gets paid down the mortgage or the debt as additional repayments, because you don't want that extra income to creep into your budget week on week or you'll get trapped in that second job.
Because now you've taken on more risk or more expenses having an investment property. Yeah. So has your side hustle just become another job to keep that investment property going?
And that's the thing. It's like, if you stop that second job, is it going to put financial pressure on your household because that money is legitimately used to pay down?
Yeah. Or
is it some weird quirk where the bank needed to see extra income for the loan, but in reality, you didn't need that? Mm-hmm. So I like this one. Crispy. Oh, Crispy. No, Christy said, I do night fill at Coles. It's $33 an hour. It's in aircon. Paid to do 1,200 reps of lifts per shift, and half the time there are no customers. Staff discount of 5 to 10% on groceries and liquor. I never run out of toilet paper during COVID or tinned goods in cyclone season, plus a decent...
So that's where it all went, to the employees.
Exactly. I keep saying I'm going to quit this year, but 15 years and what?
15 years this stint. And 3 years plus 6 years in previous stints.
I'm keep on turning up. I added 70K to super, just rolled the rest account into my main, as well as funded my deposit savings on an IP. So, yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, right?
Are you going to say everything we've just said? You actually don't have to listen to.
Well,
do what you want.
Yeah, also do what you want.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to note that this is a situation where someone likes doing something. Mm-hmm. So it's the side hustle mainly because we like it.
Yeah.
And we're just using that money in our life. The biggest thing, and I'll repeat it again, don't get stuck on a treadmill with overtime, a second job, or your side little ABN venture by consuming that money week on week. It needs to go to additional surplus.
Would you consider, with your 4 reasons, adding to super as a goal? Does it have, because adding to super doesn't really have an end date, does it?
No, it doesn't, but it still is a financial goal. I want to build my super.
Up to X amount.
Yeah, but the thing is, at any time, if you stop the second job, life still goes on week. It just means you're putting less in future savings.
Yep.
So, Steph said, in addition to my employment income, I also get approximately $2,000 a year doing market research groups. They're paying gift cards. So this spend, I splurge on things I otherwise wouldn't justify buying from my income. I wonder, they're paying gift cards. That's like fringe benefits
illegal.
Tax.
Is it?
I mean, if you went through ATO code enough, they would probably say that benefit has to be declared as income regardless. But anyway, I'm not here to be the ATO police, but... approximately $8,000 a year doing medical research trials. Obviously, Okay, if you rock up and see me with a rash on my face one day, I've got a side hustle as testing cream. And they do test them on animals, and that animal is me. Approx $5,000 winning on contests. They actually take the effort to enter, not just tag a friend on IG. Approximately $2,000 a year in flyby spend, thanks to OnePass and a Coles credit card. I've been doing it well for years, and I don't plan on stopping. I can't afford the life I want, otherwise, lol. That's what I mean. Like, if it works, awesome, but I'm not building my life around being stuck to something that I don't enjoy.
Because if we do the math here, 2,000, 8,000, so we're at 10, 15, $17,000 a year extra. I would love to know how much time Steph spends on all this stuff.
Yes.
And if she's, spending her weekends trying creams and getting jabbed with things, who knows?
Yeah.
So is there a way she could be making $17,000 in a more efficient way? Maybe in a way that she even loves, if it's selling a product or service or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it works for her, works for her.
This one here, Andrew, I'm a single dad and I find it hard the time. What?
As a single dad, I found it hard to find the time to be able to do a physical side hustle.
Sure, okay.
I needed something I could do from home and would not chew up hours of my day. Some might not consider this a side hustle. However, I consider my investing strategy as such. That's a good question. Do you consider investing a side hustle? Let me read the rest of it first. After spending around 4 months learning about options trading in the US stock market, I took the plunge and began selling puts and covered calls running the wheel strategy in October 2025. Nick Bradley actually does this, I believe, and it's discussed in the Quick Start Guide to Investing. Currently have seen a return of 9.9% over 3 months of trading, on track to take that to 14% by the end of Jan. In terms of goal, it's to continue growing the account until it's at a good enough size to start taking a monthly wage out of to supplement my actual income, and hopefully in a few years build enough capital to be in a position to semi-retire. It takes...
I actually wish I had started doing this years ago, as it takes less than a couple of hours of my time each week, and it has already returned more than the previous 12 months invested in ETFs. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I guess it's a side hustle. You're taking time to do some research, sit at a computer.
Well, I guess by our definition, it wouldn't be a side hustle because it's not additional income.
Well, it is.
It's an additional income event when he chooses to.
Well, it's
take
trading.
It out.
So yeah, I mean, it's an option. It's any income generated from options contracts is treated as income. Mm-hmm. Jess, I'm a dog groomer and have converted my spare room into my grooming room. Gosh. I'm just like...
Two people who don't have pets? Ooh.
I've been doing this for about 12 years to supplement my full-time income. Yeah, that's cool. Last financial year, I earned about $16K, and this financial year, it'll probably be about $20K. It's flexible. That's the thing. It's flexible, so I can scale it up or down when I want. Yeah. I love grooming, so it even takes up my... even though it takes up my evenings and weekends. I'm a single 34-year-old female who's just entered the property market 6 months ago and trying to work hard now to set myself up. I'm not planning to quit my job and make it full-time. I'll keep it as a side hustle. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, as long as you've got a bit of intention with what you're doing. Mm. And again, I'll say it again, you just need to set it up so if Jess breaks her wrists and can't groom, her financial life isn't falling apart and there's stress embedded in there.
Yeah. It's complementary, not supplementary. Yes. Is that the right word?
That can be both.
Yeah.
I'd say it's supplementary income, not needed income.
Yeah. You're not filling I guess you can. Scrap that.
I've done a few things. This is another one. I've done a few things, but came to the realization nothing was as financially beneficial as overtime. So overtime shifts are my side hustle now. That's right.
I like that.
One shift can be over $1,000, so I earn an extra $52K a year, which is a fair bit in the scheme of things. Yeah, absolutely.
And
in
again, you can
point.
dial it up and dial it down as you need,
Yes.
which is handy.
Christopher, I do weekly water safety lifeguarding, $38 an hour casual as shift officer. Nearly 3 years. It's seasonal, so I don't have to feel the need to stop anytime soon. Added perk is getting the front row view at waterfront events. What's that? What's a waterfront event?
It could be like you know how they play movies at Wet n Wild or something, maybe?
Yeah. A lot of my casual lifeguard colleagues also swim teach or squad coach, often for $40 an hour casually. There's another one here. Heather, I'm just about to start a side hustle. I've just finished setting up my MVP home studio to do voiceovers. What's MVP? MVP.
Marginal.
No. Of course, I hadn't earned anything yet, but I'm hoping I'll start earning soon. I'm about to submit my first audition. I envisage that this is something I'll do long term with the goal of eventually it being my full-time gig. MVP, minimum viable product, probably. Yeah.
Oh, like a very basic
Yeah.
home studio. Yeah, cool.
Look, we might kind of end it there, but if you want to jump in the Facebook group, you can actually just search side hustles. You'll see my my post where I asked the question, and you'll also see a whole heap of responses to really encourage you. I like this one here. Sophie, she stopped now because we got our own dog, but did pet and house sitting for the last year and a bit. Made 10 grand before tax last year. Pretty good money for just staying at someone's house and looking after their pets. I have an animal degree, so I can charge a little higher.
Oh, cool.
And I basically said, well, what did you use the money for? Mainly holidays and topping up an emergency fund. So we had a goal, and that's the cool thing. You're allowed to say, I'm side hustling for something that I'm going to blow, e.g. a holiday, e.g. tattoos, e.g. whatever you want that can just be plugged in and plugged out.
I had a friend do the same thing actually. She did she would babysit pets, sit, and then she was saving it for her wedding, and then she kind of got sick of that, having dogs in the house all the time. So now she cleans kids' car seats on the weekend, just on like Marketplace.
Niche,
and
much.
Very. But there's a market for it. So
I'll finish with this one. This person said gambling. I know it sounds stupid. No, it's because it is.
yeah.
But I made over 10K last year using various betting agent promos. And bro, what happens when all the promos dry up? It's very simple. You can do it in your free time. You can do it from anywhere, and it's lucrative. The negative is you'll get promo banned by each agent pretty quickly. Yeah. So you have to keep signing up for new agents. And that's what I just said. Like, what happens when you run out of free offers?
So is this the type of thing where you sign up to
Sign
an
up,
app
get
and you
$200 free or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. You also have to be disciplined and not actually gamble. And I just wrote, what could go wrong? Look, this 40-minute episode has crept to an hour.
Oh.
But
I thought you were going to say it's been going for 40 minutes. I'm like,
No.
we did well.
So we'll leave it there. I'm going to throw to Kayla and ask what your main takeaway is. What do you what would you tell someone if they were like, oh, this is an episode, I'll skip to the last 2 minutes to find out the actual goal?
Go back to the beginning. No. I, as someone who has done a side hustle that's made it work for me, and it resulted in me being able to enter the property market, I love side hustles. I think they're easier to get started than you think, and go for it as long as you have those, one of 4 reasons. But I did really like what you said about a side hustle can be taking on more hours at work or getting a second job. You don't have to be the next Gary Vee entrepreneur, and that's the beauty of a side hustle. Yeah,
my whole thing would just be, if you need extra money in your life to go after a goal that's short-term, clean up your mess, just go get a second job. Just go do extra hours. It's so simple. If you want to start and maybe build something on the side that you like building, like leather wallets and all that, you're going to have to set up the ABN. You're going to have to do all that, which can still be the thing that you plug in. Or if you want to transition from full-time work eventually to your own gig and your own business, you need to start it on the side. But the whole underlying thing, I believe all of them should not supplement income or general P&L items in your life.
Yeah.
If they do, you're probably...
Yeah, don't use side hustles as a
It's too
Band-Aid.
risky because you just get stuck on that conveyor belt and you won't be able to get off to retrain and do all that stuff. So, hey, if you've found this of benefit, you can subscribe to the This Is Business podcast, available wherever you get your pods. There's also a This Is Business YouTube channel where you can see the full presentation. This year, I'm actually putting effort into my job finally, and I'm going to try and do a slide for every podcast to make it more appealing to watch on YouTube. So
nice.
And I'll always be with the understanding that still a lot of people are audio only, but yeah, I'm just going to try and turn it up a little bit. So Kayla Malss, thank you so much from Allies Management. You can look her up on Instagram @by Kayla Malss, and her business Allies Management.
Find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the platforms.
Love it. We'll see you soon.
there.
Bye.
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.